Sometimes you just have to swerve, even when making a podcast. Things in the news sometimes change from the time we record the podcast until we release it. See if you can pick out the big change in the news that happened this week. Hint, Matt Gaetz. Now, on with the show.
Hi, this is Lamar, and you're listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. A third space is a term that refers to a safe space for people to come together for respectful dialogue in a spirit of listening, sharing, and learning. In this podcast, we explore what it means to have third space conversations, and we try to model them. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please be sure to subscribe, share it, and of course, like it. The more people join us, the quicker we get to third space as a society. Now let's get to third space today.
Hey, good morning, Lamar.
Good morning, Tom. How are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Looks to me like we're like Hawkeye twins today.
Yeah, proudly wearing the emblems today.
Oh, man, we are. Hey, actually, I've got tickets for the Iowa-Maryland game on Saturday. It took me a while to find the tickets. It took me about 48 hours because, there's no paper anymore. And so it's check your app. Fine. Which app? So I've been searching through apps like crazy, and I finally found my tickets, I'm happy to say. So I'm all set to go. Very excited.
Well, good. Did you get them through a Maryland app or did you get them through an Iowa app?
Actually, it came through. I had to buy them through the University of Maryland.
Yeah.
So but I thought I got them through University of Maryland. That sent me to StubHub, which then said your tickets will be delivered either through AXS or through Ticketmaster. So I kept looking at those, and I couldn't find them. Then I went back to I had to go back to August when I actually got the tickets, and they said we've already downloaded those tickets for you to your app. Which app?
Right.
So it was like this circle, this loop of insanity, trying to find, and all of this for two teams that are kind of lousy this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be
it might be a short game,
Yeah, it might be. We might be in and out in no time whatsoever. Yep. But the better news is it's now women's basketball season again.
That's
NCAA
right.
women's basketball season. We've been following the Iowa State Cyclones. We've been following the Iowa Hawkeyes. Good games last night. Yeah.
Well,
but I know you didn't watch any of them, so I'm not.
I didn't last night. I was working last night on some projects, but I watched the Hawkeyes last weekend. I have not seen the Cyclones play, but you're telling me they're pretty good.
Well, they were pretty good.
Last night.
Last night they got their clock cleaned by the University of Northern Iowa, which is usually not that much competition for them. And but they beat them by a solid, I think, close to 15 points.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, and and Iowa State was ranked number 8 in the country. That's gonna drop them. I think that Iowa now at 5-0 is probably going to, for the first time this season, break back into the top 25 since last season when they had Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin and that amazing team that went to the finals 2 years in a row of the NCAA Women's Championship. So they've got a pretty good team. It's a pretty solid team, and I think they may go further than people expected them to this year. In a rebuilding year.
We'll definitely give you our opinion as the season continues.
Absolutely. You can count on that, and you can count on it being an opinion.
Because we don't know nothing.
We know diddle squat, but we do have opinions.
That's right.
And we're happy to share those. But we also got some news about what we thought this was going to be. And it's not going to be. So Lamar, you want to explain that?
Sure. We had promised you an interview today with Alex, who has written an article to be published by Inc. magazine on the Excel shooting. And we got a notice from Alex on Monday, I believe it was, saying, hey, they pushed it back for publication another month. So now we're talking the first part of December. And both Tom and I agree that, we really want to be able to read this article before we have the conversation, because I think it would just enlighten a lot more of Alex's presentation and our questioning. So we are putting it off. If if they hold to the schedule, we will likely go ahead and interview Alex that first week in December and drop it the second week in December. If not, we have another interview in our back pocket.
We do. And in fact, I forgot to tell you, Lamar, Ed
Yeah.
confirmed today. He's
Oh,
all
good.
set. Yeah, so we're bringing our friend Ed Schrager back in from the UK, and we gave him an assignment. We wanted him to watch with us a Netflix documentary that Lamar found called The Social Dilemma, so we could talk
Right.
about that on air with him, because it's a really interesting documentary and quite disturbing, actually.
It is, and has a lot of validity to it. And actually, just so you know, I don't take credit for finding that. I was, I talk about coffee a lot, my coffee meetings, and I was invited to a coffee of young leaders, a coffee group of young leaders one morning. And as we were chatting, one of them, his name is Isaac, said, "Lamar, you need to watch this particular documentary." And I said, "I never heard of that. I will go home and watch it." And I did. And I thought, oh, we have to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with artificial intelligence, which is down Ed's alley, and
Yeah.
also kind of how the algorithms work that that you and I and everyone else interact with probably on a daily basis.
Yeah. So if you want to know more about that before we actually get to discussing it with Ed and between us as well, you can find it on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma, and we recommend that you plug into it and watch it, and be prepared to perhaps have a slightly disturbed night of sleep afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But no, but Lamar, I just want to check one thing out. You said a bunch of young leaders invited you as an old coot to hang out with them.
Yeah,
Uh, is that true, or did you just
that's
make that up?
no, no. I
Was
did
that
not make that up.
was that delusionary on your part by any chance? Or
Oh no, it's actually it's just an awesome group of young leaders here in our community, and I've known three of them quite well. One actually used to work with me when I was working at the college, and then there was a one who just has come into the community that I found out during our conversation he had been a student while I was working at the college
oh,
and
really?
has returned back to our community. So, yeah,
Oh,
I had these kind
nice.
of connections and with them, so I knew kind of knew who they were. And honestly, and I have said this for years that I have a lot of faith in our leadership, our youth, our young adults, and those who are actually moving towards middle adulthood. I have a lot of faith in who they are and their leadership abilities. So I was
Yeah,
I was honored to be a part of their coffee clutch
very
for the
cool.
morning.
Very cool. Well, I'm sorry that we don't have the interview with Alex at this time,
Yeah.
but we are getting it back on the schedule, and like you said, it's really useful for us to be able to see that article too and read it before we sit down and talk with him. But we wanted to provide something in its place, because well, we promised, and so we try to keep to our promises.
Oh,
So
we have so much to talk about, Tom.
we do. I mean, we have we well, on top of everything else, I'll just go ahead and say it. This is now, because we couldn't get Alex. This is now our getting to third space with Lamar and Tom Thanksgiving holiday special.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Throw the confetti.
We're gonna, yeah,
Keep the
yeah,
hands.
yeah. I mean, people are excited about that. I mean, listen to that.
Well,
Wow.
absolutely.
So
What can I
we
say?
pretty soon we're gonna have singers and dancers out,
Yeah, right.
and stuff like that. So yeah, well, none of
But yeah,
that's
we'll
really going to
talk a little
happen,
bit
but we're
about
going to talk about Thanksgiving.
we'll talk about Thanksgiving, our holiday traditions, a little bit about what's meaningful to us and what our experiences have been.
Yeah, but before we get to that,
Ah, yes.
we
Life
got to
continues.
we got to have a serious, well, quasi serious
Okay.
conversation, because we're not sure how serious any of this is that we're talking about. Uh, but
Its
so
ramifications are serious, but yeah.
the ramifications are serious. Yeah. Okay. So you want to introduce
Let me
it,
introduce.
Lamar?
Yeah, and so actually, I sent you a text earlier this week. I said, "Hey, Tom, we're making some changes for this meeting for sure, this podcast." But I said something that's going on right now, which is very interesting, is the cabinet picks for President Trump, and that he's making, and it's getting a lot of play, a lot of criticism, a lot of questions, a lot of wringing of hands. Um, and I thought, well, let's step back and take a look at this and kind of see what we're thinking.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we want to talk a little bit about today. We don't know enough about each of these individuals to dive deep, so we're not going to
Yeah.
pretend to go there.
Yeah.
But like I was bringing this thought up before we started the podcast today. Um, are you surprised of
No.
how this is going?
No. No. I mean,
Okay,
I, this is pretty much what I expected.
right.
I think. Nothing is actually shocking me. I think that there's a disconnect sometimes in people's minds that, well, Trump says a lot of things, but he doesn't really mean it. And
Oh,
I would like to suggest that a lesson learned from the last, since 2016, is that he does many times mean it,
sure.
more seriously than what people, sometimes I think that the outrageous things that Mr. Trump says um, make it difficult for people to believe, and they want to dismiss it because maybe the reality of that actually being true is too much.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he does tend to try to do what he says,
You
and
know,
so we're seeing that in some of his picks.
absolutely. I know. I want to be fair. This isn't just something we should be aware of with Donald Trump. We need to be aware of this with all political leaders.
Yeah,
Listen carefully to what political leaders are saying.
yeah,
Yeah, if you are of the mind frame that there are none of them are going to follow through with what they're saying, well, then it doesn't matter, I guess. But I think if someone is saying something and saying it over and over again, pay attention, because
yeah,
what people are saying is oftentimes what they're meaning, whether they accomplish it or not. And in this case, I think I think at a very, very surface level, Tom, what we're seeing is there's some debts being paid off.
yeah.
And this is not, by the way, this is not unusual in
No,
appointments in political administrations, right?
no,
Maybe not at some of the levels we're talking about,
yeah,
but it is not uncommon that if someone has been a staunch supporter, has gone to the mat for me as a candidate, I'm going to find a place for them somewhere in my administration. Maybe
that's
it's
right,
like ambassador to Switzerland or something,
right,
but
right.
I'm going to find a place. So at the very surface level, I would say that's part of what's happening here.
Yeah, yeah,
We think about Robert F. Kennedy, right? Who he's being tapped for the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
right.
I mean, did any of us think that when he yielded his campaign to Trump, Trump's campaign, that there wasn't some deal being made? I was
I didn't think so.
I was like, that to me, that's a no brainer. He's going to
No,
go after,
yeah, yeah,
finding a spot for him. Now, the spot he gave him is concerning for,
yes,
for a lot of people,
yeah,
but I did believe it was going to happen.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of those appointments that that are that don't make sense,
Right.
because when you just look at the people's qualifications and experience, they're not commensurate with the level of responsibility. I think a case in point is the guy who's been tapped for Department of Defense. His
Oh,
credentials are that he's a veteran, and he was a
right.
veteran of National Guard, and not even a high-ranking member of the National Guard. And so, you know, what sense does that make?
You're
If
talking
you've
about
not
Pete
been
Hegseth, right?
right, Pete
Yeah.
Hegseth. What sense does that make when his qualifications are not commensurate with the level of responsibility they would have? And I think the same thing could be said for Gabby
Tulsi
Tulsi
Gabbard.
Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard. That the her experience is not commensurate with the level of responsibility. I think the same is true of Linda McMahon. I think the same is true of um, oh, Dr. Oz. Yes. I mean, Dr. Oz is closer anyway because he is a physician, although he
Yeah.
has been criticized for a number of things that he is promoted as a physician as being just a little bit odd. I'll just
Okay.
leave it like that. And but at least he's closer to that. We were talking earlier. We think probably the most sensible pick made, whether you like the guy or not, is Marco Rubio
Right.
for
Right. It makes sense to
Secretary of
me.
State. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and then I was also suggesting the Interior Secretary, Doug
Right.
Burgum,
Bergram.
who is
Yeah.
the governor of North Dakota.
Right.
Um, it makes some sense to me as well. Well, we knew changes were coming,
Right.
and we knew that there were going to be debts being paid. Something else that I think paying attention to what people say is important.
Yeah.
And that is President Trump has been very clear over the years that he's used the words drain the swamp. You can interpret that a variety of different ways, but one way to interpret that would be, I'm going to shake up. Um, I'm going to shake up, you know, uh, uh, Washington,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this certainly would be a shakeup of Washington
Yeah. It would be.
if these individuals get confirmed, and if the confirmation process is what is going to be used. That's just another question.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. What will they do? I mean, will they? We know that Matt Gaetz was under investigation by the FBI. He was also
Right.
under investigation by a House Ethics Committee that was just about to release the report when he decided to resign, so that they couldn't release the report most likely. And so the question is, will the Senate be able to get access to that report or to the FBI records to inform their decision making?
Right.
And there was an article out today in the New York Times that followed the money of
Oh.
that Matt Gaetz had paid to Michael Schmidt, I believe, was the author of that, and he's a pretty good investigative reporter, um, who's done a lot of these kinds of investigative reports, and he followed the money, and through Venmo of all things, Venmo.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, but wouldn't you be a little bit smarter than to use something like that? And
Well,
found that it was thousands of dollars that have been traced from Matt Gaetz to women that he paid to have sex or paid to have sex with other men.
yeah, I would say that particular appointment is probably, of all of these, the most troubling for me.
Yeah, yeah,
But yet
yeah.
also, I get, I kind of get why uh, he would be an appointee. Um, one
He's been
and
very
remember,
loyal.
we've extremely loyal, and has gone to the mat for President Trump during his time in office, as well as his campaigns. But Donald Trump has also been very clear that he plans on going after his political opponents,
Yeah,
political
yeah,
enemies, and
yeah,
then he's even ratcheted that up to talk about enemies within. And
yeah,
so he's My guess is he's looking for a bulldog in the attorney general's position, and
Right.
that would be a pick that would make sense given what his plan is.
Yeah.
If that's his plan, I'm assuming that's his
Yeah.
plan. He told us it was.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
something that go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was going to say this is a little bit off this, and when we were talking before we started recording, I forgot to mention this to you. So I'm hoping this isn't throwing you a curveball. But when I wake up in the morning to National Public Radio, and
Oh,
usually it's at the top of the hour, so I've got the first 5 minutes is national news, and I heard a report that I found shocking, and but I just Googled it, and I found that it's actually true. It's accurate, and NPR is known for being very, very accurate. Um, the Texas General Land Office, according to the Austin American Statesman, has offered President-elect Donald Trump, I'm just reading here, a massive Starr County ranch on which to build detention centers.
oh.
The news comes amid Trump's promise of the mass deportation of immigrants. The Texas Land Commissioner, Don Buckingham, notified Trump she had purchased a 1,402-acre ranch along the U.S. Mexico border, about 35 miles west of McAllen, to construct a detention center. I can't even begin to tell you. My first thought when I heard that was thinking about the Japanese internment camps
Hmm.
that we've heard so much about in World War II. And I thought 1,400 acres, that's a boatload of land. And I was quite disturbed by that, to be honest. I was very disturbed by that.
Well,
Worrisome, very
I
worrisome.
mean, I'm still processing what you said, and I can understand that, and it's very disturbing. Again, um, I just encourage us to remember that when people talk about what they're going to do, believe them.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, something we talked about again in our pre-production conversation had to do with history. And I was curious last night. This is what I was doing instead of watching the basketball game. My bad.
Oh
I
man,
could have
I
done
tell
it
you,
while I was watching the
I don't
basketball
know.
game.
We're gonna have to take away the Hawkeye shirt if you keep it up.
No, please don't. No, but the thought that I was having was, okay, I know that there was a lot of turnover
Yeah.
in President Trump's first administration, or in his first uh, years as president with his administration. But I don't know how that compares. It just seems like it was happening all the time.
Yeah.
So in doing a little bit of looking, I mean, the data's obviously there for anyone to look at, but uh, I was looking at some comparative data. Let's see. The source is from the National Journal of Decision Makers editions, and the comparison on Biden's A-team turnover from year to year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're ending Biden's term, and it breaks it down by year and then a total.
Right.
And the total of President Biden's year is turnover in the A team, the top level cabinetry. I think there's 66, 67 people, 71% turnover.
Right.
And I thought, my gosh, that seems high. And then the chart goes on to compare to other administrations, and President Trump's administration at the end of his 4 years was 92%.
92%. Yeah.
And I look back at Obama, Bush, Clinton, all the way back to Reagan, and it seems like the average is running in the 70s
Yeah.
percent for turnover. And it kind of varies in what year during that administration that happens.
Yeah.
But President Trump's turnover was really high, and it happened very early. It was high. I mean,
Yeah.
in that first year, he was already at 35% turnover.
Yeah.
Which is higher, I think, than any of the other administrations. So, what does that say? Possibly we may see similar kinds of things happening. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. He was the star of the show of what was it called, where he would fire people?
The Apprentice.
The Apprentice, right? So, if someone moving someone along is not outside of his purview, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But or what it could say is that they didn't stay because they didn't pass
Right.
the loyalty test that he wanted. We do know that Donald Trump really wants people to be extraordinarily loyal to him,
Yeah,
and um, if these folks prove to be very very loyal, um, they may stay. They may be around.
that's true.
At least from his perspective, he may not fire them, but they may stay around at least till they get a better gig, and then they're gone. Because oftentimes that's what happens is everybody knows, hey, at the most this is a 4 year thing. So by about year three, I better be looking to see what I do next
Right.
and see if I can, move this into a more permanent gig, just in case we don't have another 4 years, right? So
In addition to that, there are people, and we kind of touched on this, and again, we're not the ones with all the best insight in the world, but I would say there are some people who are going to be so far um, over their heads with the work that's in front of them that there may be some people looking for different roles
yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
So, but all of that is kind of our musings, our observations here. More to come in the future.
Opinions.
Opinions, yeah, more to come in the
we
future. But I find it very interesting.
we we know diddle squat, but we have opinions.
That's right.
I
And
that should be our tagline. We know
yeah,
diddle squat, but we have opinions.
and once again, this is a channel where we want to demonstrate, third space.
That's right.
And even though it sounds like maybe Tom and I have agreed as we've gone along through all of this, we probably are not agreeing on everything here. You know, uh, but we're talking and listening to each other,
Yeah,
and that's what we encourage people to do is the processing information.
yeah. I mean, if this shows anything, um, what we're observing right now, it actually shows how how badly broken the system is,
Yeah,
uh, because we don't have a lot of confidence. At least I'm not hearing a lot of confidence from folks out there that there is a process in place that allows them to truly vet the qualifications
right.
of the nominees. And I'm not saying that a president doesn't have a right to have people around him or her that are supportive of their agenda. I mean, certainly Mr. Trump has that right. But the American people have a right to have people in leadership that are qualified. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
we count on Congress to have a process in place to do that. And I think that our confidence in this country is shaken so much in the Congress that we no longer know whether it is possible to have a fair process in place that ensures that that we're getting the best that's available in these leadership roles.
Well,
So
more to come as we go
more to
along,
come.
and we're not. We mentioned that this coming back from our hiatus over the summer, we wanted to be able to tackle um, more of what's going on in the world around us, and I hope that you are appreciating that as well. And we would love to hear from you as well. If you have thoughts, opinions, please feel free
Yeah,
to let us know.
actually, maybe we'll stick a poll on
Yeah,
the podcast this week and just say, so what do you think about Trump's picks, cabinet picks so far? Because there's more to come.
Tom. By
There's
the
more.
way,
Yeah.
on the on on our YouTube
Yes.
channel, because we have
Yeah.
moved
Yep.
channels.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm still running into people who are still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Can you quickly just say where people can find us on YouTube? How's the best way for people to find us on YouTube?
Sure, maybe I can in just 10 seconds here. I got to
I
pull up
didn't mean you threw me a curveball, but I threw you, a sinker. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that. That's really good. You have to go to YouTube, number one. Go to
Yeah.
YouTube. And then what I'd like you to do is just simply search for well, in YouTube it should be at, the at sign,
Right.
at Klaus House Productions. And if you do that, that'll bring you up to a playlist, or our YouTube channel anyway. And we've got a playlist that we're building out of our current season, and we're going to be adding everything else in. It just takes a little while to move everything over there. I think I got about 10 of them up right now, but we've got a bunch more to move. So keep following that, and that'll get you to where
Okay.
you need to go.
So at Klaus House Productions.
That's right.
Okay.
YouTube.com// at Klaus House Productions. I'll
All
try
right.
to put that.
Thank you.
I'll even, for the video version of this, I'll try to put that in so they can see it.
Great.
And now
Appreciate
it'll
it.
go in the show notes too. So,
All
yeah.
right.
Well, okay. So, geez, now that we've had all that depressing talk about politics, uh, it is the Thanksgiving season. What a lovely season this is. Oh yeah, woo, man.
So I got to tell you, Tom, this is by far my favorite holiday of the year.
Is it really? Why
It
is
is.
that, Lamar?
You know, um, I think because there's less stress associated with the holiday. When I think of Christmas, to me, that brings a lot of stress for
Mm-hmm.
as well as getting together and all of that. The weather's usually pretty good, at least in the regions that I've been living.
Yeah, yeah,
November's been pretty good weather. Um, there's not. I don't have to deal with a lot of crowds because most of the holiday is spent at the house or at the home
yeah,
or
yeah,
somewhere. Some traveling, but usually
yeah,
not as heavy traffic. And definitely, I don't go camping and have campgrounds that are in traffic. That's just it's
yeah,
just to me a much more relaxing atmosphere. A lot of good stuff on television if you want to kick back and watch some TV, but the meals for Thanksgiving are just, awesome. and
yeah.
and so I feel like it's a much less stressful holiday. I don't know. What about you? What are your thoughts?
Uh, I, you know, I am probably a Grinch when it comes to
Oh,
almost every possible holiday. I'm not a big holiday kind of guy. Uh, my wife absolutely loves Thanksgiving.
oh, wonderful.
She loves it. Her family, much of her, not all of her family, but a lot of her family show up from Philadelphia and Arizona. In fact, we're getting ready to pick up her sister, kind of flying in from Phoenix tomorrow, and she loves Thanksgiving. Um, and and we have a lot of fun with it. It's really nice. We have a meal together. We play games. Usually we go off an adventure together as well.
Okay.
This year, I think we're going to go down to downtown Frederick, to Carroll Creek and look at the light displays that they have on the boats down there.
Oh,
I
cool.
guess we've never seen it before, but we've heard it's really awesome. So we're gonna try that. We may even go hiking. But you know what? They're forecasting possibility of snow here tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, exciting, huh?
yeah. That can make a hike beautiful, actually, with
It could,
lights on the river with snow on the ground. Huh.
yeah, that could be really, really nice. Except, unfortunately, the rest of her family doesn't get here until next week.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well,
and
hey, at least you guys enjoy it.
yeah, we can go, and then we'll tell her sister and the rest of the family about it, and maybe show them
Yeah.
pictures or something. What's so how was your holiday tradition, your Thanksgiving tradition, different from how it was when you were growing up? What did you guys? What was your
Well,
holiday, your Thanksgiving tradition way back? Half a
so
century or so ago.
so I grew up with four brothers and my parents on a dairy farm in Iowa. Okay. And on a dairy farm, your days can vary a little bit, but the cows don't change
No,
their schedule.
no,
So
they don't. They don't.
you are pretty much locked into a schedule. But not only did we have a dairy farm, but we also raised turkeys. And I'm talking about thousands of turkeys, right? Not just a few in the backyard to make it look kind of like, the outdoors, but we're talking about get them as baby chicks, raise them in a brooder house, and when they get to be large enough, we move them all out into the field. And so we had thousands of turkeys over our years on the farm. So my plus I had my father's family especially. We get together on Thanksgiving, and as far as I remember anyway, and we would do things like go pheasant hunting, and I remember I wasn't even old enough to hunt. I couldn't have shouldered a gun if I needed to, but I remember walking the fields with my dad, my brothers, and my uncles, pheasant hunting in a cornfield just past our barn.
Yeah.
And to me, those memories are just really, really valuable. And now raising turkeys the way we did, turkey for me, now my brothers may disagree with me, but turkeys for me was not a special deal. We had turkeys any day we wanted a turkey. we had two chest freezers, big chest freezers down in the basement, and they were always full of turkeys. And I'll someday, if you ask me and we have time, I'll tell you some turkey stories. I don't have a love for turkeys at all, but we could not even get rid of all the turkey that we had.
Right.
Our neighbors quit saying, yes, we'll take a turkey, because we gave them so many turkeys. So when it comes to Thanksgiving meal, the one main course I don't particularly care about. I'll eat it if it's there, but I would rather have something else other than a turkey. Now my family is like insistent on we got to have turkeys.
Yeah.
Turkey for Thanksgiving. My kids and my wife's history with that. So that's a little different. In fact, you're coming up. We're having all these conversations by text right now, and I had offered last year, after a couple of turkey debacles on my part of trying to make turkey, because I'm not that invested in it. My daughter's going to.
You're just still trying to kill the turkey, aren't
Oh
you?
God. So my daughter's going to make the turkey and bring the turkey, but I said, listen, I'll make steaks for whoever wants steaks, right? So it turns out that so far my in-laws, my daughter-in-law, my son-in-law, and I are going to be eating steak, and my family's going to be eating turkey, which is fine. I'll probably have a little turkey, eat, slather enough gravy on it, I can get it down.
You know what, though? I got to tell you, when you were talking about the turkeys, I forgot that you guys raised turkeys.
Yeah.
And so one of the earliest memories I have of my friendship with you is that you were telling me about how stupid turkeys were. And the story you told me is one of the funniest stories in my lifetime. You said, when it's raining, you got to get the turkeys inside the building. And I said, why? And you said, because they drowned. And I said, they drowned in the rain? And you said, yes. They feel the drop on the top of their head and they look up. And then the rain goes down into their beaks and they drowned. So you got to get them inside because they're too stupid to realize it's just rain.
Well, that may be not quite the way I said it, but yeah, they are stupid and they will drown.
In the rain.
In the rain,
right? Yes.
Okay. They will not. Let's put it this way: they won't get out of the rain. And thunder and lightning obviously scare them, and it's not unusual for them to what we call pile, where they just rush into corners where there's fences and corners of houses or buildings, and they just pile one on top of each other and start smothering each other. So I don't have a lot of respect.
In either way, they suffocate. They either suffocate with water or they pile on each other and they suffocate.
Yeah.
How stupid.
So
So,
we raise domestic turkeys,
uh-huh.
right? So
Yeah.
they were bred over years to become less wild and more domesticated, and also to have more meat, etc.
Yeah.
Um, and my dad my dad would say that we bred these smarts right out of them because wild turkeys are very smart.
They 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 understand rain, right?
They understand rain, they understand the
Oh,
weather,
oh,
but
it's
yeah,
raining. Let's get under a tree.
yeah, right, right. Uh, so in
Oh my
any
God.
case, yeah, there's a lot of stories about turkeys. I growing up on a turkey farm and being observant, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good lessons to learn.
Yeah, I would bet. Well, so I grew up probably, I'm going to guess, maybe about 15 or 20 miles east of you,
Yeah.
right off of Highway 78 there. And also on a farm, we had dairy cows. When I was younger, we had dairy cows, we had pigs, we had chickens, we had goats, we had lambs. We it was and we had crops, much of which was feeder crops to take care of them. And so Um, and we looked forward to turkey because otherwise our freezers were full of chickens
Oh,
and some pork and some beef, right? I mean, so we had lots of chickens, lots of pork, lots of beef. I mean, the thing about growing up on a farm in the 50s and 60s in Iowa is that you never starved.
that's true.
There was always food. We were truly carnivores, without a doubt. But nobody starved because you always had food available to you. We might not have other things, but we had food. And and so turkey was like, wow. I mean, this is exotic. We're going to eat turkey, And but truth is, I never cared for turkey. I like the turkey dark meat, but I'm not a big fan of turkey. And as it turns out, I mean, we would have the turkey, we'd have the mashed potatoes and gravy, we would have the pies, all that. My mom was a really terrific cook, and
Yeah.
and so she really put together quite the spread, and we really enjoyed that. And then other people would bring other things. My brother-in-law Boomer, I got Boomer stories out the
I
wazoo.
love your boomer
Uh,
stories. Yeah.
Boomer, he would make chili.
Oh,
The guy made an amazing chili, and he would bring this chili that was just incredible, and we would have the chili and the turkey, and then there was always people that didn't like turkey, so we'd have ham,
yeah.
maybe a roast beef, but yeah, I mean, it was quite a nice food feast. um but today, uh nobody in our family likes turkey,
Ah,
so we don't do turkey. We we just put in our Thanksgiving order. And so this coming Thanksgiving, I am not having turkey. I am having bandeja paisa, which is a Colombian dish
okay.
that has 9 different things in it. It has beef, it has egg, it has rice, it has beans, it has avocado, it has
Hmm,
chicharron, it has a kind of a unique sausage as
yeah.
well, and it's really, really, really good. And the rest of the family, they're getting empanadas, they're getting
Okay.
arepas, um, and even arepas con queso, and so we're getting this really wonderful Colombian dish that we just absolutely love. And it has revolutionized Thanksgiving. It's made us thankful for Thanksgiving because we don't have to eat turkey.
So maybe we ought to title this podcast around anti-turkeys, right?
Well, yeah. Well, but I mean, still thanks. I mean, we're thankful that we don't have
Oh
to eat
yeah.
a turkey.
Yeah.
I mean,
There you go. There you go.
so so it's a real Thanksgiving. Thank
Yeah.
God we don't have to eat a turkey.
Well,
So
and what I'm hearing you say is you're going to have a lot of family around.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
and,
not
and
huge. There's going to be like 5 or 6 of us. It's
yeah,
not a
well that
not a huge number. Yeah.
oh, that's cool. And from around the country, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's a piece that I have always valued about in my experience Christmas was not was more of the immediate family, but
Hmm.
Thanksgiving was more of the extended family, but also of friends, of neighbors,
Yes.
which was something when my wife and I moved to Salina, Kansas, and we were there for a number of years working. Um, we had we had huge Thanksgivings. We had a lot of family who would come from Colorado, from Iowa, from both sides. Her family, my family. We would have people, friends of the friends of our children, who would stop by for Thanksgiving. Uh, Anybody was welcome at our table,
Yeah.
and sometimes and we, if you remember our house in Salina, Kansas, it was not that big.
Not
Uh,
real big.
I had a big deck put on the back, and a big part of making that deck the way it was is that we had a way to spread out. And there were
You got
times
to
when we,
think. You got to think about decks, don't you,
yeah,
man?
that's it. I
Decks
do
and
have a thing about
pergolas.
that. Yeah, it's one way not to have to mow my yard. Um, but there were times where we would have 20 to 30 people show up for a Thanksgiving, and I really value that. When I
Yeah.
moved to Heston, Kansas, and started working at the college took over Thanksgiving into my life because that was a big weekend for them,
Yeah.
homecoming.
Yeah.
And I lost that, and that was so frustrating to me. And when that was no longer the case, I've been trying to rebuild kind of this experience or this concept that Thanksgiving is really an open table, if at all possible, to
Yeah.
say anybody is welcome. Um, and we have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah.
We have a lot to celebrate, and if we believe what you and I have been talking about, that relationships are what's going to continue um, to keep us relative, to keep us relevant, to keep us connected to people, then we need to find ways to do that. And I think
Yeah.
Thanksgiving can do that. It's something that we're
Yeah.
struggling a little bit because in the meantime, some of my own children have developed some of their own Thanksgiving traditions, and
Yeah.
so which is great. And
Yeah.
so we're trying to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking too, as we were talking about this, that one of first of all, I just want to say that my brother-in-law is not a big fan. I mean, my brother-in-law is still a fan of turkey,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
so I just want to say condolences to him. But he's kind of gone the Colombian food route,
Oh, okay.
um, and I think in a pretty happy way. So he seems pretty content. But I think if he had his, I make sure there's a pumpkin pie for him,
Oh, yeah.
because he loves pumpkin pie. So I have to make a pumpkin pie and an apple pie this week before, because I'm the pie guy. Um, so, but the other thing that was striking me is that over the years we have really been fortunate to have a number of people join us for Thanksgiving, from other cultures and other countries. We have a friend from Japan who was a colleague of my wife's up at the University of Maryland, that has joined us on Thanksgiving from time to time. We had one of her students from Egypt who came one year with her brother, who happens to live here in the States as well. And we had a family join us, from Belarus as well. And with the Belarusian folks, we did not speak any Belarusian, which I think their primary language is Russian, if I remember right, and they spoke no English. So we communicated through, um, hand signals, smiles. Our dogs, because our dogs were great bridges, and actually their daughter did speak English, so she was able to translate some for us, and through knitting, which,
Oh,
my wife loves to knit, and she found that, the mom learned the same style of knitting she did when she was a little girl. It's called continental knitting, and so they just sat there and knitted and compared what the things they were doing. It was really just a lovely, sweet time. So I feel really fortunate that we've had the opportunity to engage with people from other cultures as well over
yeah.
Thanksgiving, and that's
That's
been a
cool.
unfortunately we were still doing turkey at that time, and so we subjected them to turkey. But other than that, they still speak to us. It's nice.
Well, that I think that's reflective of what I was thinking as well. Is
Yeah.
that this is an opportunity for us to, connect with people.
Yeah.
I don't have the same experience like with Christmas or even the 4th of July. And that may be because my own issues around the 4th of July.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not big on fireworks anymore and that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But I think that Thanksgiving to me just feels very relaxed and free, and hopefully others are feeling the same thing. So we want people to enjoy and take time to kick up and relax and get together. Now, Tom, back when I was doing a lot of work in the counseling therapy world, um, holidays were a hard time for a lot of people too.
Yes, they are. And
Getting families,
they are a very hard time for
yeah,
people. I mean,
yeah,
any of us out of kind of wackadoodle situations, or and I shouldn't say wackadoodle because that's very dismissive, and I don't mean it that way. I mean out of family situations that have been really painful or
right,
traumatic. Are The holidays are tough. They're really tough. Yeah.
yeah. It's not just uh, sometimes it's the fact that holidays can be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Travel can be challenging. I
Yep.
mean, you have that route,
Yeah.
but there's also the route of or the issue of a lot of family dynamics that you tend to avoid throughout the year become more evident when y'all get together around the table,
Yeah.
and so we know that there's challenges in lots of families during holidays. We
Yeah.
need to think about that as well.
So maybe what we can do in that regard, and Lamar, this is something I want to talk to you about at another time as well.
Okay.
I Ed Traeger, our friend Ed Traeger from the UK, got me involved in a group called Be Humankind, and the whole focus of that group is really to promote kindness in the world, and which is, we kind of think, well, do we really have to have a group to promote kindness? And yeah, and the answer is probably yeah, we do. It's a good thing, and so maybe this is a time for us to say to folks at Thanksgiving, one of the greatest gifts we can give one another at Thanksgiving is just simply the gift of kindness. That
Yeah.
there are things that you don't have to go there. You don't have to do that. You don't have to say that. You don't have to act in that way. But you can take a step back and you can say, okay, for today, we're going to be kind,
Yeah.
genuinely kind.
I love that sentiment, and I think we should be able to promote that regularly. But why not start with a Thanksgiving? I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And actually, Lamar, I hope we can introduce some of these folks from Be Humankind to people on our podcast at some point in
Okay.
the future. It's a very interesting group. I joined their international gathering yesterday. Well, I tried to. Actually, they sent out the notice, and then we had a time change.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like an hour late, just as they were winding it down.
Okay.
They kindly extended it for about 30 minutes for me. So I could at least meet people. But
Yeah.
there's something about that jump in time zones from the United Kingdom to here that and then going back to standard time was kind of a
Sure.
mess. So
Okay.
uh,
Well, we made it through the first annual holiday Thanksgiving special
yeah,
for
and
getting to
I
third space.
but I just need to let you know I just got a text uh, that Lady Gaga and Beyonce are not actually going to be able to be here to sing for us. We were
You
planning for
promised me,
them.
man.
I know. I
Words
promised you.
matter.
I know. I'm so sorry, but they just sent their regrets.
Okay.
They were messed up on the time zones too. They were here 3 hours
it.
ago, and it turns out that we weren't. So anyway, they send their regards, and
Okay.
but hopefully we'll get them the next time for the Getting the Third Space with Lamar and Tom Thanksgiving holiday special,
All right, man. Well, hey,
which
I
may be in a
appreciate
year,
it.
right?
It may be, and remember, words do matter. And I think
That's
that
right.
one of the themes I hope we keep coming back to is what are people saying and believe what they say And remember that what we say is should be believed as well.
That's right.
Okay.
Hey, that's a good way to close, Lamar. I like it.
All right.
Okay. Hey, have a great Thanksgiving next week.
You as well.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Tom here. Thank you for listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. Remember to click on subscribe to get notices about new episodes, and be sure to like and share the podcast as well. Opinions and ideas expressed in this podcast are solely those of Lamar Roth and Tom Klaus, and we'd like to hear your opinions and ideas too. You can leave us a voice message on Spotify, or you can email us at the addresses found in the show notes. Also, in the show notes, you can find links to some of the things we talked about today, so you can check them out yourself. Until next time, keep moving forward toward third space.